From the post-millennial, Trump slams Biden's open border policy for allowing in Boulder terror attack suspect. Quote, he came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. So badly. He says, let me pull up the full quote, actually, because it's cut off. Yesterday's horrific attack in Boulder, Colorado will not be tolerated in the United States of America. He came in through Biden's ridiculous open border policy, which has hurt our country so badly. He must go out under Trump policy. Acts of terrorism will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This is yet another example of why we must keep our borders secure and deport illegal anti-American radicals from our homeland. My heart goes out to the victims of this terrible tragedy and the great people of Boulder. Now, the latest update is that this guy was charged with murder, implying that one of the individuals he immolated, that is the word, that's what he did. He set them aflame. The assumption is one of them has died. Now, apparently he had more than 14 more Molotov cocktails and was planning the attack for over a year. These people had been marching peacefully through Boulder to raise awareness for the hostages taken from Israel. They weren't violent. They weren't screaming. They were marching. And they even stated that usually they ignored if they ever came across someone screaming Free Palestine. They just did not respond because they were just trying to bring awareness. This guy shows up screaming Free Palestine. And he set, I believe there was an elderly man who was like 80-something years old, and even children on fire. Yep. This guy did not cross the border illegally. He came here legally on, I believe, a B1 or B2 visa, like a tourist visa, overstayed it, applied for a work permit through the Biden administration. They knew he was illegal. They let him stay, and therein lies the problem. This is why we need law enforcement. This is why we need vetting. So this is what you get. This is where we're at. Now, the question for the panel is, of course, my position has largely been, if an illegal immigrant commits a crime, just deport him. Goodbye. Put them on a list. They can't come back. Secure the country. Don't let them come back. Secure our borders. I don't see why we should spend exorbitant amounts of money on criminal trials for people who weren't supposed to be here in the first place. And then we got to pay to house them. We got to pay for their security. That's right. The cops that come and the correctional officers that have them in cells have to secure them and keep them safe from other people who might want to do them harm. Why should we spend all of that money? Honest question. What do you guys think? Should we?
No. Send him back.
Just send him home?
Yeah.
Just go. Bye. Yeah.
The one reason I would say keep him just for a bit is to interrogate him to get answers. To know, like, for the family, for the victims, families, like, what was this guy doing? We know, but there's some investigation they could probably do, but he shouldn't be here at all. I mean, he should just be gone.
Fair point. Interrogate him to see if there's anybody else he was working with, who was he coordinating with. But I don't know. There's a lot of people, especially in the chat, that are saying he should get a full criminal trial so that we can show everybody what he did, lock him up to make sure he never does it again. Yeah. But then that logic, the challenge for me is this means that every single illegal immigrant that ever comes here, we have to pay for to house. Yeah, that's what they're trying. Many of them are trying to do that.
Yeah, that's the problem, because we'll just spend all that money on that. Hopefully if there is a trial, I like to think it would prevent others from doing bad things, but I don't have faith in that either.
No, I mean, the point is all of the threats you can imagine are already in the United States, right? Like this is going to emerge and this is going to continue unless we do deportations. 20 million people came over the border or something around there, came over the border from when Joe Biden took office until he got out. That is going to mean that there is some number larger than zero of people that are looking to do actual harm to the United States or willing to do harm that have brought the bigotries of the old country over here or are worried about the old country's war, so they're bringing it here. That stuff doesn't, that's not America's concern,
Send them to El Salvador and just do Zoom meetings with them.
No.
In the prison.
They shouldn't even
just to figure out the interrogation part, just to
know, all right, yeah.
What is the deal, as best you can, because I'm not even going to trust them, honestly. As much as I'd like to see some answers, I don't even think we'll get it.
So then don't even worry about it. Just ship them out.
Yeah.
We have to get rid of people. We have to get rid of a lot of people.
All for that.
And a lot of people. Again, the more difficult you make it for people to stay in the United States, the more people will be like, I'm going to get out of here before it gets
becomes
a problem with
getting rid of him will do more. The consequences of people seeing someone just immediately disappearing will do more. Crazy?
ICE has been going to immigration courts and USCIS offices. And then when these illegal immigrants try and apply, the moment they're denied, they walk out the door and they get arrested.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the smartest way to go about doing it.
Yeah.
To be fair, I guess the counter argument is they'll just stop trying to apply legally. But if the issue is that they're here illegally and they're going to an immigration office as a last-ditch effort to stay, It's not going to work. You shouldn't have been here, and you're going to get arrested.
It's a mousetrap. It's just
Yeah.
a tease. It's just, and look, by any means necessary with these people, I think we got to get them out.
We don't even need to call it arrested. They're just taken into custody. There's no because we're just taking you to the airport to put you on a plane back.
Goodbye.
And back to wherever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There is a credit card that can buy a plane ticket for anywhere in the world that the government has. They can go ahead and say, American whatever airline, please remove this person. Send them back.
I was talking to Tom Homan on the morning show last week, and you know, the subject was basically how they're screaming about due process, and I'm like, and I was honored to get to tell the man himself this. The worst thing you are advocating for doing, Mr. Homan, is giving someone a ride home. Imagine a guy breaks into your house, he's rifling through your stuff, you get into a fight with him, tie him up, and say, "Oh, I'm gonna drive you home. Where would you like to go?" That's actually what we are doing with all these people. I think it is infinitely compassionate to some very evil people. That is the route we take.
I mean, I think the question of, you know, whether you keep someone in prison who has committed some crime in addition to crossing the border illegally is that if we look at the past administrations, the border has been like a sieve. If this gentleman is convicted of murder especially, he'll be in prison after Trump is in office, after Trump is out of office. We have no idea what the next administration will be like. If he's in an American prison, we know he's not wandering around in the American public. If we send him back, who knows whether he'll cross the border again.
That's good. That's great logic. Yep. Hopefully, we get a successor to Trump in some capacity. I mean, look, if in the next 3 years the Democrats ditch the far left and the party becomes like Tulsi Gabbard, I will be very, very happy. Because that means whoever wins, we're going to have some semblance of a let's secure the border at the very least. You know, it won't be psychotic, weird, woke garbage. I doubt that's going to happen in 4 years. So if hopefully we get someone like Trump who takes over or carries on that legacy. But that's a great point that if we keep people like this in the country and then say J.D. Vance runs and loses, the next Democrat administration is going to let them all go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then some might argue, yes, but if we send him back to Egypt, the Democrats could reopen the border and he might come back. Well, I'd rather have him try and traverse 12,000 miles than 50.
Just walking out of a jail.
Exactly. Yeah. Not 0 miles. He's just here.
Yep.
Never left.
Yep.
Send him back.
How many Molotov cocktails? How does he travel with all this stuff? That's a lot of Molotov cocktails to just show up with.
So I was asked today on the Green Room show the origin of the term Molotov cocktail. And I was 20% correct. So he fact checked it. It was the Soviets were dropping cluster bombs on Finland and claiming they were dropping food. So they were called bread baskets. And then the Finns started making cocktails to go along with the bread. So Molotov was the guy who was claiming it was food.
Wow.
They said, here's Molotov's cocktails. They started throwing firebombs.
Wow. Wow.
It's like, did no one think to make one of these devices before that the Cold War?
Well, I mean, like there was Greek fire, so they've been.
Yeah, do we know what that is yet?
I don't know for sure.
And you should know this.
I know. I'm married to a Greek. I don't know, though. I don't know.
But you
On
know
the
about
boats,
Greek
they
fire,
used
right?
so it's basically a.
okay.
The
Early napalm.
flamethrower, and the Greeks had like boats that were equipped with flamethrowers, and they could, smoke other boats.
And we don't necessarily know how they did it.
Yeah.
Ooh, lost technology. Interesting.
Yeah, it's not all that complicated, I imagine.
Yeah.
Throwing fuel or napalm.
Yeah, so I believe the Molotov cocktails, I thought that was pre-World War II, not Cold War. So that was, sort of the era when, sort of gasoline-based vehicles were becoming more common, which is, probably when they started realizing they could set vehicles on fire with it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 30s, 39. Yeah. So it was during World War II. It was Vyacheslav Molotov was one of the architects of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact on the eve of World War II. And he was producing propaganda claiming that they were sending food, airborne food deliveries, but they were cluster bombs. So they said, here's, a Molotov cocktail to go along with your bread basket.
I remember someone throwing a Molotov cocktail into a building down the street from us in Brooklyn in like 2015. And just one Molotov cocktail,
huh?
maybe 2016, one Molotov cocktail did a lot of damage.
Wow.
They're no joke. Yeah.
Yeah, fire.
Could you imagine that's your legacy, like your name, and then people make fire bombs named after you. Now it's just we call them Molotovs.
Great branding.
Yeah.
And you'd think that it might be someone that was actually an anarchist or something like that, considering the association, but it's one of them was a fascist, some sort.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.